Hey everybody, Joe here. Nice that you could join me today. Thanks for coming. What we're going to be discussing today is the iTaste VV version 3 by Innokin. Now this was my second mod. What we're going to do is going to go down to the build cam. I'm going to do an unboxing for you so that way you can see exactly what came in with it. And we're going to discuss what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. We're going to discuss prices and stuff like that. And then we're going to get out of here and you can go and have yourself a great day. But first, before I do, get your fingers on the pause button. The next thing you're going to see is a slide shot that is going to have all the particulars, tech specs, and everything else on this unit. So that way you don't have to sit around and listen to me ramble on for half an hour, 45 minutes discussing this thing. So, without further ado, let's go down, get dirty, and jump cut. We're down here on the build cam, and we have the Innokin iTaste VV variable voltage, variable wattage mod in front of us here. As you can see on the front of it, it's by Innokin Technologies. It's an 800 milliamp hour variable voltage, variable wattage device. On the side here, you'll see this nice big cutout area here. This is where the certificate of authenticity / scratch and check would normally be. When I first got this in, I was a little concerned about the fact that it didn't have the scratch and check on here to ensure that this was a genuine device. And I wrote emails back and forth for quite a bit with Fasttech inquiring about this. Now, the upshot of all of those emails was that Fasttech did not have a contract with Innokin to sell these units on the, I believe, the international level or something like that. If they had a contract with Innokin, they would have been required by the contract to sell these units at the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And since Fasttech sells these things considerably below that, they said that they couldn't legally sell it with the scratch and check authenticity. But I did manage to check this out in a couple of other different ways through various videos, etc., asking around at a few people who had these devices. And yes, this is not a clone, this is a genuine device. So that having said that, let's take a look at the other sides. It has the usual certification stamps on here, not for sale to anyone under 18 years of age, the European Union CE certification, USB certification, FCC certification, the reminder not to go chucking this into the garbage bin, that it does have batteries in here and that needs to be recycled, which is what this is for. This shows that it is RoHS compliant, meaning that the solder and everything else that was used in here is lead-free solder and complies with the European Union's RoHS regulations. Also, not for use by any ladies who are pregnant or nursing. Nothing on this side. Over here, on this side. This unit comes in a variety of colors. It comes in 4 different colors. You can see white, black, chameleon. Chameleon reminds me of a prismatic effect. It's kind of sort of like the way sunlight is reflected off of a sheen of oil on water. It breaks it up into the component colors and gives off that kind of prismatic effect to it. That's the best way I can explain it. You probably know what I'm getting at anyway, so I'm not going to go crazy trying to explain it. Pearl chrome. Pearl chrome. Well, leave off the pearl, it's just chrome, okay? 2 configurations this box can come in. It can come with iClear 10 claromizers, or it can come with the iClear 16 dual coil claromizer system. Now, I don't know why they call them systems, but they do. This comes with 5 iClear 16 dual coil claromizers inside the box here. The 16 is actually 1.6. That's the amount of e-juice that can be filled into the units, 1.6 milliliters. And of course we get around to the other side, back to where we started from. Now we're taking a look at the back of the box. The unit has a puff counter on it, so if you're trying to keep track of how many times a day you're puffing on your e-cig, that's going to give you a relatively good count of it. However, we'll get into that in a minute. Actually, let me get into it now. The puff counter gets reset every time you turn this thing off. So if you want to get a cumulative reading of how many puffs you've done over the day, then you're going to have to leave this thing turned on, which of course is going to cost you some battery life. My suggestion, if you're going to make use of this, is to, just before you shut it off, copy down the number of puffs, shut it off, charge it. If you're like in an office situation, you can plug it into your USB port on your computer there, your work computer, charge it up in the off position, and when you're ready to go out on your break or on lunch or finish for the day, grab your unit, unplug it, turn it on, and start puffing away. When you get home or if you get back from your break or you get back from your lunch, write down the number of puffs you've done and then shut it off and charge it back up again. That's the best way of working with this. Short circuit atomizer protection. If, God forbid, this thing should develop a short in the atomizer that you have attached to it, this circuitry that's in here will, as soon as it detects a short circuit in your atomizer, it will shut the unit down, preventing it from venting and possibly blowing up in your pocket or in your purse. Very, very necessary thing to have on any device, except of course for MacLeods, which don't have any kind of circuitry in there at all. But if you have any kind of a variable voltage, variable wattage controlled device, then make sure it has short circuit slash atomizer protection. Mandatory, really mandatory. Over discharge protection. That means that as soon as the battery inside here gets below a certain point, I believe it's 3.7 volts, 3.6 volts, excuse me. As soon as it gets below 3.6 volts, it will shut the unit down. This way, the battery won't be fully discharged and it will be a little bit easier for you to charge it up. And not only that, it won't destroy the battery. LED battery indicator. That is the little light show that shows up around the on-off fire button that gives you an indication of the state of charge of your battery. Myriad compatible. I have no idea what that means. Absolutely none. On-off battery switch. Yeah, well, that's self-explanatory. That's also the fire switch. 10-second cutoff. If you're taking a pull on this thing for more than 10 seconds, either you've got the world's biggest lungs or you're in need of upping your nicotine level. Seriously, 10 seconds is more than sufficient for a pull. Pass through. This is the most important thing that's on here. This is the main reason why I bought this unit, because when I was using the Ego style batteries, I had to have 3 batteries. 3 batteries. I had to have one on the charger, one standing by for the one that I was using when the one that I was using discharged. And then when that discharged, I would go to the standby battery. The one that was on charge, if it was fully charged, would come off of charge and become the standby battery. And the one that I just got through using, that would go on to the charger. If the standby battery was not fully charged yet, then the one I'm taking off would go on to a second charger. Many a times I had 2 batteries on charge at the same time. Yes, pass through. Very good thing. Whenever you're getting something that charges off of a USB port, make sure it's got pass-through. If it doesn't have pass-through, shine it on. Settings retention. Okay, settings retention. This is for when you set your variable voltage level that you want to be vaping at, or when you set the variable wattage level that you want to be vaping at. These settings retention will not retain your puff counter. When you turn this off, you go click, 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 and turn it off. The puff counter gets reset back to 0, 0. That's the only thing these settings retain. The only settings that are retained on this are your voltage and your wattage. That's it. Okay, here we go now. Variable voltage. Voltage can be adjusted from 3.3 to 5 volts in 0.1 volt increments. Variable wattage. Wattage can be adjusted from 6 watts to 11 watts in 1/2 or 0.5 watt increments. Ohm meter. This is a very important this ohm meter will give you a reading on the resistance value of your coil. This way you know what you're working at. You need to know what the resistance value of your coil is and the voltage that you're using in order to be able to work your wattage, to work out the figures for your wattage. And I'll get into that in another episode. I'm going to be dedicating a complete show and try to give you some tips on how to use Ohm's law and what it means. And of course it has here the usual warnings: not intended for use by persons under 18 and not by children, women who are pregnant or breastfeeding, or persons who are at risk of heart disease. Well, you've been smoking probably for a number of years. The cigarettes are a lot worse than what this is going to be, but they got to put this thing on here and to keep their lawyers happy. Okay, so that's the outer box. Sleeve comes off, and you have the inner box, both this side and this side blank. Okay, so here we go. Whoopsie. Open this up. You get a couple of the Innokin logo stickers for the back of your cell phone, for the back of your tablet, for the lid on your laptop, or just put it up around your monitor to show how cool you are. Here we have the Claramizer filling instructions. All of these here on the inside, totally useless. Absolutely, well, for this thing, absolutely not usable. It's totally non-germane. The Claramizers that come in here are the iClear 16s. That's this here. This shows you how to open it up and fill it. After you fill it, when you first fill it, the first time you're using it, or after you've cleaned it out and let it dry out, reminding you to let it sit there for a few minutes to allow the juice to get up to the wick inside the coils. That's all this is for. Useless. Here you have the user's manual. This comes in 9 separate languages: English, French, Italian, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, Czech, Greek, and Danish. This has a description of what all of the different things: puff counters, 510 thread. The 510 connector on this is not, I repeat, not spring-loaded. It is a fixed 510 connector. So if you use a 510 connected device on this thing that has a long connector on it, you're going to be up the creek with it. You're going to have a problem. Of course, this has got all of the usual stuff in here, the California Prop 65 warnings about how bad nicotine is and all the rest of that good stuff. The product is intended for use with charger provided. With the unit, we recommend that you always use the high-quality 5-volt, 500 milliamp USB wall charger. Now, that 500 milliamps is a minimum of 500 milliamps, or half an amp. Okay, the charger that they supply here is a full 1 amp charger. You can use a 2 amp charger, but the battery, while it is charging, will get commensurately warm. Okay, and all the rest of the other good stuff here. Make sure you keep it away from water, etc., etc., yada yada. Okay, this is the meat and potatoes of the manual. Okay, shows you the different buttons, where they're located. The display explains to you the different how to use the buttons to get into variable voltage mode, out of variable voltage mode, into variable wattage mode. The battery level indicator, ohms meter, what the blinking LED light show around the fire button means, whole mess of other stuff. this is the most important part of the manual here. So having said that, let us go to see what we bought here. This is the unit. Okay, this is the Innokin iTaste VV version 3. 800 milliamp hours, variable voltage, variable wattage. This is your 510 connector on the inside here with cutouts for airflow if you're still using a unit that gets its airflow via the 510 connector. Also has the Ego style cone thread, exterior cone thread on here, which is absolutely necessary for the claramizers that come in with this kit. If you're using it on something else such as a Pro Tank or any of the other more modern units, then if you're using an original style Pro Tank, then yes, you need these little cutouts because the original Pro Tanks got their air via the 510 connector. If you're using one of the later ones with the variable airflow control ring, then this is totally not necessary for the simple reason your airflow comes in through either the Cylon slot or the ring that adjusts over the holes on the barrel of the unit, etc., ad nauseum. Okay? Now, this also comes, as I said before, it comes with a USB adapter and a charging cable. The charging cable is a nice little travel charger. I let it sit in the box, in my little parts box. I do not use it. I think that the wire that's on here, even though the Teflon plastic that's on here is pretty solid, I think that the wires in here are relatively thin and are going to give me no end of agita if I decide to turn around and try to make use of it. So I keep it as an emergency charger just in case I need it. The USB charger, wall charger. This is a 1 amp charger. As you may be able to see on there, this is a full 1 amp charger. So this will take this unit from a almost fully discharged state below 3.6 volts to a full charge at about 4.3 volts, I believe it is, in about an hour and a half if you're not using the pass-through feature. If you're using the pass-through feature and you're vaping on this thing while you're charging it, it's going to take considerably longer. It can take anywhere up to 2 to 2.5 hours, maybe even a little more than that, depending upon how much you're sucking on this thing. So, that is the charging capabilities. These are the claramizers. This unit comes with 5 iClear 16 chargers. There's 4 more in here. This one here I have out of the cellophane to show you what it looks like. This is the way they come in the package, in each one in its own individual little cellophane package to keep it nice and clean, and so that way you know that it hasn't been used before. But this is the same thing. I'm just going to show you what it is. Okay. This is your mouthpiece here. It goes down into here and it seats against this little silicone grommet here, which is right above the atomizer head. When you suck on it, the air comes in through here, through the 510 connector, and through this little, these little cutouts here in the skirt, and feed up through that hole there, through this tube, into the heads where the head atomizes, and the e-liquid in here that's brought up by the wicks, and you suck it out through the mouthpiece. Okay, this is supposedly a 2.1 ohm head on here. Let's take a look and see whether or not it actually is. Then we'll get into tearing this down so you can see what it looks like. 3 clicks to turn it on. 1, 2, 3. You get the light show, red, yellow, green. As I said before, green is from 4.3 down to 3.7 volts, 3.6 to 3.7 volts is, 3.7 down to 3.6 would be yellow, telling you you need to get your tail to a charging station. Otherwise, this thing is going to, in very short order, cease to function. Below 3.6 volts, this thing turns red. When it turns red, this thing shuts off because it has the voltage protection mode in here, okay? Which means that below 3.6 volts, this thing will not fire. So you see this thing's turning up red on you, you need to plug this thing in through the USB charging unit down here. Otherwise, this thing is just going to sit there and smile back at you while you're sitting there and cussing up a storm. Okay? Simple. To right now, let's just see what we got here. Resistance is 2.1 ohms, 4.2 volts, variable voltage mode. So we're going to hold this down, and we're going to hold this down at the same time. We're going to go from variable voltage into variable wattage, if I can get this thing into it. This thing's always been a pain in the tail. Okay, 10.5 watts. That's going up to 11. Okay, so we're in variable wattage mode, so we want to go into variable voltage mode. So we're going to hold down the power button and the down button at the same time. Right. Oopsie. That fired. So I think we have to hold this down first and then this. There we go. Now we're in variable voltage mode, 4.9 volts. And we're going to take this down to the minimum of 3.3 volts. And it goes up to a maximum of 5 volts. Okay? And to take this into the variable wattage mode, you hold down the plus and you hold down the power button, and that takes you into variable wattage mode. And 11 is as high as the wattage goes, and then you get down to 6 watts, which is as low as she goes. Okay, 3 clicks to shut it off, and pretty much that's it. Very, very simple little device. Put that back in there. This is your iClear 16 claramizer. A claramizer is a combination of 2 words, clear and atomizer. Clear meaning that it has this plastic or glass outer tank that holds your e-juice, okay, and atomizer for what it does. This is what I like about this as opposed to the original green claramizer that I showed you in my last video that was part of my original kit. This here, with this unit, you can change this head here. This is the head for the unit, the atomizer head. When this atomizer head burns out, you just unscrew it here and replace it with a whole totally brand new unit. You just screw it right here onto the base, and once it is in place, you insert it into the glass outer tank, screw it down into place, and you're good to go. Okay? The atomizer head, in this case, coils, are underneath here. This wick here and this wick here supply the bottom coil that's in here with juice. Okay, this one here and this one here supply the top coil with juice. Now, this is a very efficient little device. It works very well. The major problem with this is that using this particular unit is like, I've heard it described as trying to suck a golf ball through a garden hose. Well, I personally find that using this is a little bit more stubborn than trying to suck a golf ball through a garden hose. I think it's more like trying to suck a softball through a garden hose. That's how tight a draw this particular unit has compared to some of the more modern devices that are out there. So that's basically what it is. I'm not going to get into all of the nitty gritty and stuff like that, because this is old technology. If you're using this, my condolences to you. My suggestion is get yourself off of these things. Get yourself a newer unit. You don't have to go sub-ohming and stuff like that, but this thing here, this is outdated technology. It still works. Use it until you can afford to get yourself to something more modern, but get yourself there as soon as possible. It'll work for you, but it's not going to work as well as some of the newer devices will work for you. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the complete contents of the Innokin iTaste VV version 3 box, and you have now just seen everything that you need to know about this. If you want to know anything more technical about it, my suggestion is to go to YouTube, Phil Bissardo's videos, and he did a complete teardown on this unit, complete with an analysis of its signals and how well it maintains voltage at certain given resistances and all that kind of good stuff. So go to look at his videos, and he'll turn around and be able to cue you in on all of the tech specs, right down to what the signals look like on an oscilloscope if you're really interested. So let's go back up above decks, and we'll wrap this beastie up, and you folks can get on your way. Pardon me for having a quick toke here. There you have it. Up close and personal with the iTaste VV version 3 from Innokin. It's a nice little unit. I still like this thing very much. Its major drawbacks are, for me personally, are the fact that it is an 1100 milliamp hour battery, and even though it does have the pass-through on here, it gets warm while you're trying to chain vape it, like I've been known to do, and trying to charge the darn thing at the same time. It don't work that way very well. It will do it, but instead of an hour and a half, if you were just to leave this sit there and let it charge, you're talking at more like about 2 to 2.5 hours, maybe even longer, depending upon how deeply this thing was discharged and how much you're toking on it while you turn around trying to charge it. Big question here. Would I buy this unit again? No, I would not. This is a 800 milliamp hour battery. There are newer devices out there that have considerably longer battery life that give you better performance than this. Would I go and buy a iTaste VV version 4 with an 1100 milliamp hour battery? Possibly, depending upon what the price point for the unit is compared to what other units are out there now. That's the reason why I'm saying possibly. Most likely not. There are units out there such as the eLeaf 20 watt or the eLeaf 30 watt. even the eLeaf 50 watt, that are roughly in the same price point range as the iTaste VV4. The 50 watt, which is what I have here, this is a 4,400 milliamp hour batteries. That's 4,400 milliamp hours. I can get up to about 2 days worth of charge off of this thing. This thing, or even its bigger, younger brother, no way. No way. And this only cost me about 50 bucks. Okay? Roughly the same price as what the VV4, even today, in late 2015, would be costing. No. The only reason why anyone would buy one of these today is for the simple reason they like the form factor, they like the shape. It fits easily in their pocket or their purse. Purse probably, pocket not so much, because don't forget you have your tank that goes on top here, your tank or your claramizer that would be on here. So it's not just going to be this size, it's going to be about this long. And if this is a VV4, it would actually be about this long. So like I said, this wouldn't fit in your pocket too well. This, however, even with the big K-Fun 4, the K-Fun version 4 in long mode on there, this fits in the pocket quite well. So, like I said, possibly on the VV4, definitely not on this. That's about it. Take a look at other units out there. If you're a new vapor, you're going to be sucking on it quite a bit. Even if you're using a high nic concentration, you're going to turn around, you're going to be using it quite a bit. I know I was. I was only a pack-a-day smoker. I was a pack-a-day smoker for 45 years, but still only a pack a day. I was using a roll-your-own equivalent of Marlboro Reds. So, having said that, I'm going to chop out of here right now and let you folks get on with the rest of your day. I've got a lot of video editing here. I also got a slice of pizza in the toaster oven inside there that's probably getting crispy crittered right now. So I'm going to chop out of here and let you go. You take care. Have a great day. Like I said, pizza in the toaster oven. Yeah, it got a little crispy. What are you going to do?